I'll just stop right there. Dr. Brian Feeley, why are you looking at me like that, man?
Oh, you kind of do look like Warren G.
Do I? No, I don't. Come on, man.
If you could
That's
be any member of the Dog Pound or the DPG or LBC or whatever you want to call it, the Snoop, Dre, Daz,
it's got to be Snoop.
Nate, Warren G.
I got to be Snoop.
You'd be Snoop.
I'd be Snoop. Dre's not the best human being in the world.
I mean, they all have checkered histories.
Yeah, but Snoop does a lot of good things for the community. Snoop Dogg, Pop Warner League.
I think I would be corrupt.
Would you?
Yeah, I want to be the underground hero.
You beat Thizzed out.
Nothing wrong with that. Or Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg, I mean, he made nothing but
Always
bangers.
Nate Dogg.
Right?
Nate
Nothing
Dogg,
but
rest in
bangers
peace,
every
Nate
single
Dogg.
time.
Nothing but
Rest in
bangers.
music and me. Oh
Greatest
my gosh.
featured artist of all time.
All
Hands
time.
down, right?
Best hooks ever.
All time.
All time.
Is he ever on a bad song?
Never. I have never heard him on a bad song. Dude, he says, I miss Nate Dogg.
I
Damn.
know. As we're
I really
so sad talking about Steph Curry, and we're
Yeah,
going to talk
we'll get
to
Dr. Brian Feeley
Doctor
out here.
I need a little Nate Dogg in my life.
Yeah, Coach Anthony Nick will get you right after Dr. Brian Feeley. I know I've been teasing you guys. I promise you, as soon as the interview's over, we're going to take your calls about the Golden State Warriors. I want to hear your takes, Coach Anthony and Nick, and then we'll segue to Niners. Dr. Brian Feeley, orthopedic surgeon with UCSF Medical Hospital with a specialty in shoulder and knee injuries, was an assistant to the team physician for the New York Giants before joining UCSF Medical in 2008. Also currently serves as a team physician for St. Ignatius. How about that?
Oh, no way.
Dr. Brian Feeley, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Roast.
Nice.
Dr. Narab Panya has been cheating on us with Willard and Dibbs. You're going to become our roaster now. You're going to become our doctor, Dr. Brian Feeley.
Sounds good, man. 2008 was a long time ago. The Giants haven't been good except for a couple years in the in 2011, 2013.
Well, no, they haven't. And let them stay bad.
And
We
we'll
don't care
let
about
the
the New York
SI thing slide.
Yeah, we'll let SI slide. A tough loss to Bellarmine in the playoffs. But anyway, Steph's shoulder. You're a specialist when it comes to shoulder injuries. What did you think in 2:04 in the third quarter when Steph Curry made a play on the ball and immediately grabbed his left shoulder? What went into your mind? Did you think dislocation? Did you think a pec? What did you think, Doc?
Yeah, and looking at the injury, honestly, I think it's hard to say, and that's why they're so quick to get the MRI today. Things that can go wrong in the shoulder with that sort of movement, you can strain a muscle in your rotator cuff, you can strain your deltoid. There was a lot going on Twitter on does it matter where he grabbed? It really doesn't. Everything kind of refers to the outside of your shoulder, so it doesn't help where he grabbed or what he looked like in the seconds afterwards. So the things that we worry about are, could you have strained a muscle similar to Wiggins, where it's just going to be something that you need to let everything calm down, let the muscle recover? Could you strain the labrum at the top of your shoulder where your biceps attaches, so-called flap tear? Absolutely. It's a pretty good mechanism for that. It didn't look like a dislocation. Your shoulder usually goes down and forward for a dislocation. So that's less likely. But the reality is, without the exam and without the MRI, it's hard to tell how serious that injury is and, frankly, how long he'll be out.
Yeah, as I've hurt the left side rotator cuff with the bursa, like underneath the bursa area, and I swear to God it never recovered, Doc, so I'm going to need some physical therapy from it.
Dr. Brian Feeley, Joe Shasky's no Steph Curry, so please don't.
No, but
don't drink the Kool-Aid, please.
Look, again, I'm not pretending that I'm Steph Curry, but is this on the low end, what's the most optimistic and then what's the most pessimistic view of this if you're just looking at it from 1,000 feet? Most Warrior fans are waking up this morning and they're saying, all right, what's the worst and best case scenario?
Sure. I think best case scenario, which is probably a little bit more likely, is strained a muscle, strained where his biceps attached, out for a few games during a time where it's early in the season, it's not even Christmas, and it's on a hard road trip where, frankly, we're not playing that well on the road anyway. Worst case scenario is injury to part of his biceps or labrum where it's really going to be a struggle to shoot. He can't really get his arm up in a position that he wants to, and he's out for a few months.
Well, even though it's his left shoulder, not his shooting shoulder, the right shoulder?
I mean, how many times have we seen Steph shoot a left-handed layup?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a great point, Doc. Wow.
Now, because there's so many ligaments up in that area, even the MRI that we get today, is it going to be very conclusive? Is it very like clear cut forward? So like whatever they say today is pretty standard, or can there be some deviation?
So the part that's missing is his exam when he went off into the locker room. So that's the information that we never really get, nor should we really get. But the fact that they got the MRI suggests it hurts enough that they think that there may be something structural to at least evaluate or to make sure that everything is okay. The reality is in professional athletes, we tend to get an MRI a lot quicker than we would if we were Joe Shasky.
Yeah, no, I'm well aware. I know, Doc, I'm well aware. I've got a plantar fasciitis thing I want to talk to you about after. Keep going.
But the MRI is, especially for shoulder injuries acutely, it's very diagnostic. It can rule out anything that is extensive. What it really doesn't do is do a great job at giving us a timeline to when non-severe injuries are going to recover. So, for instance, if he has a little strain in his rotator cuff, there's no structural damage. It doesn't predict necessarily is it going to be back in 1 game, 3 games, 10 games. Because that's all based on how he feels.
No doubt. Let me ask you about Andrew Wiggins and the right adductor strain. He's missed 5 straight games. He's going to get reevaluated today as well. And that's a big piece of information. How long can this injury linger for an Andrew Wiggins? Because the groin's obviously in basketball, the lateral movement. What do you think about that, Doc?
Yeah, I think groin strains in the NBA are very similar to hamstring injuries in the NFL. NBA players do so much of their movement laterally. It's just like backpedaling for cornerbacks in the NFL. So this is going to be, I would anticipate he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks because you want him fully healthy before he returns. If you look at the data for hamstring injuries, the worst thing you can do is bring somebody back early because then they are essentially at 3 times higher risk of getting a second hamstring injury. Once you get that second hamstring injury as a professional athlete, the rest of your season is altered. So I would be super conservative with him, let him feel great before he comes back. And kind of same thing as Steph, assuming it's a more minor injury. You want your players healthy so that second half of the season, you hit the playoffs healthy like we did last year.
Doc, just to clarify, if Steph's out, quote-unquote, months, do you think his season is over?
If Steph's out months, could his season be over? Hard to know. I mean, One way to look at it is he has the best plus-minus in the NBA right now. How good is the team without Steph? Or great opportunity for Poole and Kuminga and Moody to step up. He gets some rest. He comes back right before the playoffs. We're a 6th seed, and we cruise through because we're a 6th seed without the best player in the NBA.
Man, Dr. Brian Feeley here on the Morning Roast, a hell of a lot more optimistic than I am. If Steph Curry misses a couple bucks, oh boy, oh my gosh, Doc. All right, let's switch over to football here for a second. Got a couple injuries. Deebo Samuel last week suffered an MCL sprain in his knee as well as an ankle sprain. Is 3 weeks enough for Deebo there, or would more rest be beneficial to him to get him ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, more rest with these injuries is always beneficial. I think it really is going to depend on what the seeding looks like on that week 16, week 17. So if you're looking at week 17, which would be missing 3 games, that's average for an MCL and a mild ankle sprain to come back. So I think it's entirely possible. But if the season's wrapped up, you already know what your seed is. It's not going to change that first-round matchup. I can't see the benefit of having him come back other than to just get a few reps on the field.
And then Brock Purdy, before we let you go, how difficult will it be for Brock Purdy in that cold in Seattle? It's going to be less than 40 degrees. Be about 40 degrees at kickoff. Then it's going to dip into the 30s. How difficult will it be for Purdy to play tonight with injuries to his oblique and ribs?
Yeah, I think you can go back to Steve Young and ask him how hard it is to play with bruised ribs. You can't
the flak jacket.
Yeah. Why you got to go there?
The Green Bay
they
flak
lost
jacket.
That game, Doc.
Yeah, they got it rolled. He got benched in that game.
It happens. Realistically, it all depends on how sore he is as he starts throwing. He's only going to tighten up in the cold. The good thing is they have such a good offense for quick releases. The offensive line has been playing well, so if he can stay off the ground, there's a good chance he can play pretty well. But will it affect him? Absolutely.
Does he need to shoot it up?
That really depends on how he's feeling right before the game. I think a lot of players prefer to just be able to feel what's going on versus The risk that the Chargers went through a few years ago with rib injection.
Yeah. I just use lots and lots of Aleve.
Conservative now.
Yeah. Doc, before you get on out of here, I've had a very, very difficult left foot injury with this plantar fasciitis. I got a sock for sleeping at night. All right, one of those sock things. Is that useless, or does that actually work in terms of stretching it out?
Dude, I have no idea what sock you're wearing. But really, for plantar fasciitis, you need a night splint. You got to get.
Yeah, that's what it is. Control. It's like a sock splint.
It helps. It would help more if you had some Christmas colors on it, just to liven it up, so everybody else around you knows that you're suffering.
Yeah, B, why are you looking at me like that?
Doc, don't answer. This guy.
I'm being legitimate.
This guy thinks he's a 5-star athlete.
No, I did not.
This guy gets hurt waking up out of bed.
I want to be able
this
to
guy
keep my
hasn't
workout routine.
done anything athletically in the last 5 months, and he's talking about plantar fasciitis, shoulder injuries. Dr. Brian Feeley, I'm sorry to waste your time on Joe Shasky's injuries here. Jeez. All right, you're a great doc. You're awesome. Thank you so much for the time. We'll have you back on. You're better than Dr. Naram Panda out there, and I'm kidding. Thanks for the time, Doc. Seriously.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, orthopedic surgeon.